This is the official SuperCoach NRL podcast. Teams List Tuesday.
Hello, Supercoaches, and welcome to our Live React Teams podcast. It is round 18. I'm pumped to give the new studio a spin. Also pumped to have Tim Moodie, the former champ, in the new studio as well. How's your team travelling?
It's okay. I jumped 2 ranks this week.
2 ranks?
Yeah,
literally
2 ranks.
2.
I was thinking, I'd just like to hold. I save trades. It was a big thing for me to try to get through a round without using any trades, and I did that, and so it's not the end of the world. It's pretty good. I had a pretty slow start to the round, and the Roosters game sort of helped with a good captain of Teddy. What about yourself?
No, yeah, well, I usually go well when I'm on leave because I don't overthink it and I just do what I think. But dropped 2,000 spots while I was on leave, so it's good to be back in the chair doing a little bit of research going forward. Of course, the big decision for me this week, and for you, I believe as well, is Joey Manu out for 4 weeks. There is some chat, it may only be 3. There's a buy in there anyway. So, first of all, is he a sell? And if he is, who would you go to?
Yeah, I think from my side it is a sell. There's plenty of other people I've spoken to and they've said, I've got heaps of depth and think I can cover it. Yeah. I think if you can cover it, just hold on to it. I'd be stuck probably playing too many blokes I'm not trusting. I've already got a couple of those in other positions that I'm not trusting in each week, and that, you know, they're not really performing. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to have to add another one of those to the list. But
so I'll put you on the spot. Who do you think is the best replacement?
I think the best replacement's very team dependent. I reckon the best replacement's probably the gun that you don't have in your side.
Yeah.
So it might be like you might not have Dom Young. I'd probably go him in that case, or you might not have Garrick, go him in that case. But I think there's some cheapy guys like Ronnie Mulatalo, Maju and Cooler who are sort of on my radar at a cheaper price to allow me to sort of do other things in coming weeks as well.
Yeah, I don't mind Maju, but I don't think he's a keeper to the end of the year.
Yeah.
Same with Mulatalo. I've got the guys I want are Lomax, but he's got the issue with the buys and Origin coming up. Brian Tu'o is the same, got Origin coming up. Dom Young doesn't play 19, that's next week. Asako's on the bye this week. Olukwatu, if you've got the right duels via someone like Ben Trbojevic, good option. But again, I think he's probably going to play Origin and miss that round 19. So
there's so many options.
I don't see any. I actually can't see a good replacement. So I think
there'll be a good replacement for everyone's team specifically. I don't think there's just a straight, everyone should go from Joey to this person, but for some teams they might be going, this is my key to Nico Hynes. They might be able to just do a straight swap via duels with Strange or whatever there, or it might be to bring in Nikra if you didn't move on him last week. I think I'm going to do that.
Speaking of Nico Hynes, I bought him in last week and it backfired big time. I tried to get a bit ahead of the crowd and it didn't work out. He dropped something like 130k. But I'm glad I've got him in my team. Covers that final big buy, which is good, but then has that buy in the week afterwards, which is a little bit tricky. Do you think this is the week to get Nico if you don't own him?
I do. I don't think it is for me. I can't afford it. I'd have to sell Sam Walker, and I don't want to do that this week. I think he's got a pretty good matchup as well. One of my other 3 halves I'd prefer to sell to Nico next week. And I'll be able to afford one of those other guys next week. So that's the way I'm going to go about it. But yeah, if I could afford it, I'd do it this week. Great matchup against the Titans. The Titans have been great, but they usually leak points as well as scoring. Last game against the Wires, they only leaked 6 points, but that's a bit of an outlier. So yeah, I'd go this week on him. But this week, next week,
look, I'm glad I've got him in my team. The break-even is 118. Nico could hit that pretty easily.
I think he probably will go close.
You're going to want him, if you're getting him in your team, you're going to want him for the next week's big buy anyway. So I think just move this round if you can.
Yeah.
On to Jeremy Marshall-King. So the news on him, we're still awaiting scans. Looks like he could be out for the season. Obviously a huge blow for Supercoaches because he has been pretty damn good and he's covered all the big buys so far. But you do have to sell. Who is the best replacement?
Yeah, I heard Season on SEN today as well, so I don't know how solid that is, but I think the best replacement is either Appy or Harry. There are a few other options outside of that. Cook's been performing quite well, but he's not for me. I'd be going one of the other two boys.
Yeah, I'd be leaning. I'm not in this situation, thankfully. I'd be leaning towards Cook, who I think the shackles have just come off since the coach got sacked, since he signed with the Dragons as well. I think he's just really freed him up. He's got nothing to lose, and he's just running the ball so much, which is when Damien Cook does his best things for Supercoach.
The thing I do like is sort of the send-off year for him, so maybe there is that little bit of, you know, he has a bit of real good red hot crack on his way out. So yeah, he's a bit expensive though, 700. But he's 700k. He's obviously been pumping out the scores. He's just gone under my radar.
So the teams have dropped. I'll quickly point out that you can get Supercoach Plus for essentially $25 for the rest of the season. It's really good if you're trying to look for numbers over that final bye, which is coming up. Then round 20 is pretty tough too, because you've got Origin players backing up and 3 popular Supercoach teams on the bye. So I would suggest you sign up for that. The teams are in. Let's go to the Eels v Rabbitohs. What do we have? Obviously, Micah Sivo is injured, so Jake Tungo comes onto the wing. I don't know anything about him, but Sivo is out for 4 to 6 weeks. Presumably, he will start at bottom dollar. I haven't heard of him before.
Like Isaac Tungo?
Yeah.
I think that is. I think he does have I think that is his brother. I don't think he's as good as him, but I think he obviously probably if he was as good as him, we'd probably know about him by now. But unless he's a lot younger.
Well, with Sivo out for 4 to 6 weeks and a whole bunch of other injuries at the club too. One to keep an eye on, but certainly don't move this around. At the Rabbitohs, they got Cameron Murray and Latrell back in after Origin duty. Anything else going on there? No, not really. Back to the Eels quickly. Jermaine Hopgood likely out for the rest of the Supercoach season, so obviously a sell there.
Yeah, I don't think he's overly popularly owned, but I would be moving on for sure if he's out for the season.
Also on the Eels, Blaze Talangi. A lot of Supercoaches have a big decision to make on him. So the thing with him is he picked up dual position, which they flushed through on Monday when lockout ended on Monday. So he's now available at fullback after those 3 games that he played there. Plus, he covers this bye coming up as well. He plays 19. I don't like him on the wing, but he's scoring tries and getting decent scores. So for me, he's a hold for next week, and then wait and see what happens in round 20.
I own him at the price. I probably would have liked to have sold him last week, but it was just need him for the numbers. It was kind of similar to KPP. Probably going to sell KPP this week though. But back to Blaze Talangi. Great matchup this week for him against the Bunnies. Getting these stats from Supercoach Guns on Twitter. The Bunnies on that side, that AJ wing, has leaked 15 tries to that right winger, so that's a big number.
Yeah, that's a good stat.
Good chance he crosses over for a couple this weekend as well.
At the Sharkies, they've got Daniel Atkinson, who's played in the halves for them this year, but he's going to play on the wing with Sione Katoa, out with a head knock. So an interesting selection there by Coach Craig Fitzgibbon. I think the big question here is, we've covered Nico Hynes, so let's talk about Ronaldo Mulitalo. In the mid-4s, that's extremely cheap for a guy who's been a Supercoach keeper in the past. We're probably getting him at his bottom or close to his bottom. And then it's a pretty good draw coming up. Covers next week's bye. It's far from the worst purchase. Yeah,
he's one of those guys that can have those low scores in him, but with the matchup, like the run home for the Sharks, surely there's got to be a lot of tries in that. There's got to be a lot of big high-scoring games for the Sharks, and he should be on the back end of a few. So he's someone I'm really, really keen on. I'm just finding it hard to split him, Marju, and Cooler at the moment.
Cooler, nice. Onto the Titans. So Jaden Campbell is out with that ham injury, as we predicted in early mail. That means that AJ Brimson comes back from injury and will play in the halves. Not a whole deal of Supercoach relevant stuff here, except to mention that Beau Fermor, who's played 3 games at centre, did earn dual position status on Monday. So that's pretty good news for owners.
100%.
What else do we have here? Any love for Brimson? When he was playing fullback, I'm like, I have to get this guy in.
Yeah.
And then he just keeps switching up, playing centres, playing halves. He's always an injury risk.
Yeah, I think that's the first thing came to my mind. Just the in and out. He seems to be hard to string a few long amount of games together, and with the back end of the season, trades limited, I guess that's something that needs to sort of play on our mind as well.
Of course, the other issue at the Titans is David Fafita. There's a lot of chat, and Billy Slater himself kind of suggested it a little bit that he could be playing for the Maroons in the decider, which would spike one of the better buy purchases in Supercoach this year.
Yeah, that would make sense. I think they should probably recall him, and yeah, that would be one less number, and having Joey Manu go down last week, that's another as well. So it just shows how close every major buy you get, just closer these numbers drop off week by week.
At the Broncos, they've got the 3 Origin guns back into that team in Reece Walsh, Pat Carrigan and Payne Haas. Katoni Staggs is out for personal reasons, so Mariner's going to centre, and Corey Oates comes back from a knee injury on the wing. That's about it from the Bronx. They've got a really good schedule coming up, but I still can't get around purchasing any Bronco right now.
Yeah, Payne Haas is, I think, the only one that a lot of people are sort of considering as their maybe run-home keeper prop, that if they don't have AFB, that they were going to go that way. So one to keep an eye on, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I think Payne Haas in round 20, round 21, that's the only Bronco I'm looking at in the even medium-term future. Onto the Panthers. The Origin guys are back, so Dylan Edwards, Brian To'o, Jerome Luai and Liam Martin and Isaiah Yeo as well. At the Panthers, Brian To'o, very popular replacement for Joey Manu. What are your thoughts on this? Because I do want him in my final team. He's pretty expensive, but he won't cover this next big buy next round. If you're a head-to-head player, absolutely get on. But for me, I can't get around getting Brian To'o this week. Yeah, it's a tough one. Like, if he's playing on the right-hand side when Nate's returning, it'd be awesome, but I don't think he will be. He'll still be on the left. But I think after that Origin game, he scored a couple of tries. I was getting so many texts straight after that period, so people sort of like, wow, look how good he's going. And, you know, wanting that to translate into NRL, which I think it could. He's just been off my radar a fair bit. Like this year, he used to be like the top CT dub a couple of years ago, but just because the tries hadn't been coming as consistently.
What about Dylan Edwards? So he's a guy who I really need to come up with a plan for to get him into my team. I think probably in round 20, but it depends if he backs up or not from Origin. Certainly around 21, 22. He's a guy who you have to free up cash for. The issue is you've got to free up a lot of cash because he's been so good for Supercoach this year.
Yeah, I do like him, especially as a run-home option. You know, coming out of Origin, he could grow a leg too, and, you know, just being in that system around, so not the Penrith aren't a great system himself with great attack and everything, but he could, just that next level, he could, you know, offer a bit more perhaps. So yeah, like it. There are a lot of good options though, so maybe you don't have to lock that into. You might just pencil it in. There's, you know, Ponga coming back, there's Turbo, maybe not as appealing in the centres, but there's Latrell, there's Teddy, Walsh even. There's plenty.
It's a red-hot position, that's for sure. At the Bulldogs, Connor Tracy is back from that concussion. That means Carraz goes back to the wing and Gerald Skelton drops out of that team. Thoughts here? I mean, Reid Marnie's really popular. Have you got any strong opinions on him? People are going JMK to Reid. He has been really consistent this year, but the bye schedule's not great for the Bulldogs coming up.
Just realised I probably need to get a new radar because that's another one that's just flown under my radar. He has been scoring really well. Definitely, yeah, one to consider to chuck into that mix of Appy and Harry, I think, for sure. For me, I put him in my never again basket a couple of years ago, so that's why I probably haven't really looked at him, but yeah, maybe I need to pull him back out of the basket.
Look, if there were Supercoach points for niggling, then he would be right
he's
up
fun to
there
watch,
with the
isn't
best. He always is. Yeah. Onto the Wires, no changes for them. Supercoach wise, not particularly relevant right now because they've got that bye coming up. Charles Nickel-Clockstad is a popular sell. I think that makes sense. Given
they're sort of popular headaches, if anything. Like, I've got Dallin Martinez-Lesniak just bleeding cash there too, and would love to move him on, but just can't make it work. I could probably move him straight to Ronnie, but then I wouldn't be able to fund my second trade, so you're going to have to hold on.
At the West Tigers, they got Charlie Staines back on the wing for Atape. No, not a great deal doing here, Supercoach-wise. I just want to bring up a couple of guys. Lachlan Galvin, who we knew was good, but has hit some serious form basically as soon as I sold him when he got that injury a few weeks ago. Sold him to Cody Walker, and he's been killing it ever since. And Api Coruscant as well has had a bit of a renaissance in recent rounds, 5-round average of 71.
Yeah, drop-off game obviously for Appy last week. He got that send-off, which was quite controversial. Wasn't quite over the horizontal, didn't really go into his head, but understand trying to protect the player. So just a 20 score. Then he probably would have scored 40, which you'll take. But the week prior, 130, very, very good. But to Galvin, yeah, he's just so like offering a bit different each week. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. I feel like, there's so much more yet to see, and I don't think he's someone I'm going to sell.
Well, their buy schedule is just so good. You just stick with all these West Tigers guys for at least the next sort of month or so, and then assess it from there.
Why not play him every week? But
yeah, exactly. On to the Storm. So Ryan Pappenhausen is back into that team. Obviously, that is not great news for Suafailongo, who's been switched to the bench. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, just interesting.
He is currently the 4th most popular sell, so you would assume that more people get around to selling him. The issue is they play relatively late in the round, and Pappenhausen must be in a little bit of doubt going into this game too. Yeah. So there's every chance that Failongo comes in and plays fullback again. Yeah,
I heard something like the Needles weren't taking as well as what they would have thought, so not great. But I heard he wasn't going to be named, so I guess it's good for Pappy owners. Hopefully he gets through it, but it's a bit awkward. If your Failongo's owner, I guess, what's the BE?
I'm not sure.
You had a 48-ish last week. Yeah, if the BE's say over 70, I'd probably do it.
I don't think you're going to be.
Is he dropping out of the side or?
He's 14. So
yeah,
he's on the bench.
So
I mean, he could easily come on and play, 10 minutes. His BE is 90, so he could start.
Time to sell then, I think. Yeah.
On to the Cowboys. So they got their Origin players back. Not a great deal to talk about here, to be honest. So we might move on to the Sea Eagles, who are extremely relevant. Tom Trbojevic is back, and it's at centre, as we predicted. Kula is fullback. Garrick is back from concussion, which is huge news for owners because there were a few question marks over him. Elihai Hopewate, not there. So a very popular cheapie from a few weeks back, not there.
Yeah, so I do like Kula at fullback. The back end of last year, got a little bit of a run. It was that last game of the season where he was playing an under-strength side. I think he scored 200 or something like that. 180 was a ridiculous score. So he's got it in him. It's a very, very cheap price. The frustrating part would be if Manly decide to not stick with Turbo at centre, and then a week or two later he's back at fullback, and then you've got Kula at centre, which would be a little bit. It's not the end of the world, but it's not why you bought him. So, but I think I might. He's very high on my radar to look at this.
Yeah, it's a good punt. Him at fullback is a great option, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely the potential for Turbo getting eased back through centres and then returning to fullback at some stage.
Yeah, maybe they think the dynamic for their side still, better with Turbo back there, so maybe they move it even if it, they still are going well or whatever. So tough one.
Roosters are as predicted. They got Joey Manu out, which means Michael Jennings is the guy that comes into that back line. Terrell May's back to the bench. I don't think it really matters for him. He can score well from wherever. Dom Young, you did mention him a little bit before as a replacement for Joey Manu. What are your thoughts?
Who's inside him now this week? We've got...
Would it be
Jennings?
Silly Tupanua or Jennings?
Yeah, because Tupanua played on the left last side, unless they swap him to the right this side this time. Yeah, I'd still like it though. I still think there's that cut out options, and regardless to who the centre is, they can draw and pass. So yeah, and there's the option that maybe it's better for him because Joey does sort of take the option of running it himself a lot too. So maybe that'll pull back a little bit.
Yep. At the Dragons, they got Lomax back after being rested post-Origin. So, look, I don't think a great deal doing there. We have spoken about Lomax already, so let's move on to the Raiders, who have Kaya Weeks at fullback. That's interesting. Pretty serious shift here.
Yeah, he played there.
Rapana goes to the
week.
wing. Hopewadi's in the centres. Adam Cook, he's going to play halfback. So pretty significant shake-up there. And Simi Sasagi's onto the bench. So Supercoach Cheapy from earlier in the year is back in.
Yeah, that's pretty much copy and paste from what they did last week. So,
right.
Yeah, it went okay. Not
big news on Kaya Weeks, though, if you still own him, to have him running around at fullback.
Yeah, fullback's awesome for him.
On to the Knights. So they got Kalen Ponga's back. This was mooted in a couple of group chats.
Well,
that is huge, isn't it?
Well,
massive. Yeah. Kalen Ponga's there, so that means who's dropped out of the team? Fletcher Sharp, the popular cheapie from last week, is now on the bench.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think there was a bit of whispers it might have happened this week, or it might have happened after the bye, after Origin. But, yep, well, this is great for if you're looking at Marju. You know what I mean? It can only be better for him. I was actually looking at Marju's, some of his stats from last year, and he obviously is better with KP in the side. He averaged 74 last year with KP in the side for 14 games. He had 3 tons over 10 games. But yeah, look, he's been really underwhelming this year. Like, the tries haven't been coming. You could probably put that down a bit to KP, but yeah, it's a tough one. It's 500k. The BE is this, like, it's 5 or -5. So it's a bit of a situation like Nicola I was in last week. If you've got to do it, you want to do it, now. So yeah, I think he's a good thing. I think it's just very hard. I can only do 2 of them, him, Ronnie, and Cooler. So chuck him in the chats. I think I'm leaning Marju and Ronnie, though.
Look, my initial thoughts here, I don't want to trade this week. I've only got 10 trades left, by the way. But Kalen Ponga as a purchase for next round.
How much is he?
Oh, he'd be expensive. He'd be right up there. You'd have to free up a fair bit. Let me have a quick look.
Make up for lost time.
It depends how so he's 877k.
Yeah.
So you're setting apart a lot with the break even of 171. So certainly wait a week, but he could be a guy to bring in next round. Finally, the Dolphins are on the bye, so that means JMK. We think he's out for the season, but won't be playing this week anyway. Let's take some questions. Wait a week for Hynes or just do it? I think just do it
if you can do it.
We both agree on that. How many trades do you guys have left? I've just dropped that before. 10 for me, and
14 will be down to 12 after the round.
People are saying so. No, Harry Grant. Is that right?
No, Harry.
Somehow missed that one.
Oh yeah, Garlick's there, right?
Yep, no Harry Grant. And he's not on the extended bench either, so that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge for me, particularly because I've got Danny Levi as my backup, so gonna have to do something about that.
Yeah, I had no idea that was going to... Last week he just didn't back up, and then this week I'm not too sure what's going on there.
Yep, we'll have to dig deeper into that, but it's certainly a big concern for super coaches. What else do we have here? Oh, sorry, I've lost the questions.
Well, it may force a lot of people's hands with the JMK situation if they were tossing up between, one or the other. Their sort of decisions made for them.
Garrick or Iro? This question, apparently it's raining in Coffs Harbour all week. I think if you've got Garrick, you just play.
Yeah, 100% with goal kicking. I do love Iro coming up over this period, though. I think a couple of the centres have scored against the Titans over the last sort of month. I sort of went just over the last month, and I think the 3 other 4 weeks that left centre has scored. So, yeah, one to keep an eye on there.
Well, that is it for our Live React Teams podcast. Obviously, some huge news today, particularly Harry Grant not named, Kalen Ponga back into that team. It's been great chatting Supercoach with you, as it always is, Tim Moodie. And we'll catch you on...
back, Sangster.
It's good to be back, and we'll catch you on Thursday for the preview podcast. We'll see you then.